And I'm a registered dietitian at ShopRite of East Hartford in Manchester, Connecticut. I'm here today to talk about protein, an important part of a healthy, balanced diet. When we think about protein, a lot of times we think about getting protein from animal products like meat and chicken, but we can also get protein from a lot of other foods. We get protein from yogurt, and especially Greek yogurt, get protein from eggs, milk, canned fish, and also plant-based foods like almonds, tofu, and soy products like soy milk, different grains like quinoa and hemp seeds. The amount of protein one needs depends on your age, your sex, weight, height, and activity level. But most of us get more than enough protein throughout the day. It's very easy to meet your protein needs based on what you can see here. There's protein in so many foods we eat throughout the day. 1 ounce of protein is equivalent to about 7 grams. So an ounce equivalent of protein is equal to 6 ounces of yogurt, 1 egg, a half a cup of lentils or beans, an ounce of nuts, which is about a 1/4 cup of nuts, as well as a cup of your soy milk and regular milk, and also 3 ounces of protein like chicken or fish is about the size of a deck of cards. When choosing proteins, we want to go lean with our proteins. What that means is proteins that are lower in saturated fat and cholesterol. We find saturated fat and cholesterol in animal products, such as the fat in milk, the marbling on our meats, and the skin and dark meats of our chickens. So try to limit those foods with extra saturated fat and cholesterol. Eat chicken with the skin on in moderation, and try to go lean with your protein more often. When we're choosing beef, we want to look for leaner cuts. When looking for leaner cuts of beef, we want to look for that really red color. So that red is where we find the muscle and the lean protein. So you can see this cut of meat doesn't have a lot of that white marbling. We have a nice red flesh. So this is a leaner cut. This is an example of a not so lean meat. So you see here we have all of this white on the outside, we have the marbling inside. This is where we find that saturated fat and cholesterol. So when choosing your beef, look for that red color and go a little bit leaner. When choosing ground meats, especially ground beef, we want to look at the label. So you want to look at the percentages. You want to look for leaner cuts of meat, which is 90% or leaner. So what that means is 90% of the product is lean proteins and 10% is the fat from the animal. So looking for 90% or leaner, like 93, 95% is a great choice. Other healthy choices we have here are ground turkey and ground chicken. We want to try to vary up our protein. So instead of thinking meat and chicken all the time, try to look for plant-based sources of protein like we mentioned before. Things like nuts and seeds, grains like quinoa, and also looking for beans. They can be a quick and easy, convenient, and inexpensive option for protein at your mealtime. So we have canned, which is a great option. When we're looking for the canned, we want to turn around the label and look for the sodium content. So we see here a half a cup of beans has about 24 milligrams of sodium, which is a low sodium option. This is another example of black beans in a can that doesn't have the label of low sodium. So we turn around, investigate, and we see here that for the same half a cup serving, we have 400 milligrams of sodium. Now, if you have canned beans or vegetables in your pantry and you notice they're not low sodium, simply open them up, pour them in a colander, and rinse them with cold or warm water. That will get rid of 40% of the sodium. Dried beans are also a great option. They do tend to take a little bit longer to cook, but look at lentils instead. Lentils take very little time, under a half an hour to cook, no soaking involved, and they're a great source of protein, about 8 grams per half of a cup and 9 grams of fiber. Deli meats can also be a quick and easy, convenient source of protein, especially when packing lunches. But be mindful of the labels with these foods as well. Deli meats can be high in saturated fat and can also be very high in sodium. In fact, any of your processed or prepared meats like sausages, bacon, those can be high in sodium as well. So best to choose whole meats, but when looking for deli meats, look for leaner cuts like our turkey and chicken breast, and those are going to be lower in fat. And if you want to look for low sodium options, look on the label for those things that say lower in sodium, or visit your deli counter where they usually have some low sodium options available. We're over here in the seafood department because it's important to try to choose seafood throughout the week. We talked about servings being about 3 to 4 ounces, the size of your palm or a deck of cards. The reason why we want to choose fish is because it's a great source of protein and healthy fats. A lot of our cold water, bigger fish like salmon and tuna provide us with omega-3 fatty acids, which is good for inflammation and heart health. So you can see the great variety we have here. If you're a little uncomfortable with cooking fish, feel free to ask your seafood manager for ways to prepare and even recipes. A lot of times they'll have recipes available right at the seafood counter, or your seafood manager could always give you some great tips on preparation. When thinking about adding seafood into your diet, don't just think fresh. Look for canned and frozen as well. You can get your favorite fish, whether it's salmon, tilapia, or tuna, right in the freezer aisle. So you see here we have a lot of great options. What's nice about the frozen section as well is they sell a lot of pre-portioned options. So for example, this salmon is actually pre-portioned in individual servings. So when buying frozen, a good way to thaw it out is the night before you're planning to cook, put in a bowl and then let it defrost right in the fridge, and it'll be ready to cook the next night. So you can also find your canned seafood right in the grocery aisle. Things like tuna, salmon, and mackerel, which are great sources of omega-3 fatty acid. You can use canned tuna or salmon in an easy salad with lemon juice and oil and your favorite herbs and veggies. You can even use canned salmon or canned tuna to make burgers. So like you would make a burger or a meatloaf, simply add egg, breadcrumb, your favorite seasonings, and you have a healthy, easy patty for dinner. When purchasing meat and chicken, look for items that are on sale. When you have items that are on sale, you can buy in bulk and just stick one package in the freezer for a later time and prepare the package that you have for the week. You can also look for larger pieces of chicken, less processed. So things like the whole chicken and large chicken breasts, these haven't been broken down as much. Things like chicken tenders or thinly sliced chicken cutlets tend to be a little bit more expensive. So what you can do is buy these bigger pieces of chicken, and remember, we talked about the size of my palm or a deck of cards as a serving size, so these are way too big. So what you can do is you can simply fillet each chicken or cut them into 3 pieces so you have your portions, and this will feed your family for a couple of meals. When shopping for proteins like chicken, meat, and fish, we also want to think about food safety. Store your chicken and meat on the bottom of your cart and continue that food safety when you get home. When preparing meat or poultry, you want to prepare on separate cutting boards. You want to prepare these foods on separate cutting boards to prevent cross-contamination. So what we mean is when you're preparing raw meat or poultry, we want to keep that on a cutting board away from raw fruits and vegetables and other foods because we can cross-contaminate with bacteria. So keep your kitchen safe and have different cutting boards, maybe color coordinated. We have red for meat and chicken, and then maybe green for your vegetables and produce. We also want to store these meats when they're uncooked on the bottom shelf, just to prevent any cross-contamination in the refrigerator. When we buy frozen fish or meat or poultry, or maybe when you buy a little extra when it's on sale and freeze for later in the week or even later in the month, we want to defrost safely. So a safe way to defrost our meats and fish is keeping it in the fridge on the bottom shelf and defrosting it overnight. Be ready for your recipe the next day. Thanks for exploring protein with me today, and if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to a local registered dietitian. This healthy grocery tour has been brought to you by the ShopRite of East Hartford in Manchester, Connecticut and SNAP4CT.org.